channel. So thank you so much for joining me, Ade. Obviously, I know about your past, but why don't you, thankfully not all of it, why don't you tell me a little bit about who you are and what's your background?
Yeah, well, firstly, Alex, thank you for inviting me on to your bedroom forensics, episode 6, I think we're on, aren't we?
I think we're past that now.
Oh, wait, how embarrassing. But I've been following you avidly. My name's Ade Hutchinson. I was a police officer for 30 years. I did the last few years in Metropolitan Police in London, but I've also worked in a county force in Cambridgeshire. So I think I've got a really good understanding of both more rural policing and also policing in the capital city. I led a number of technology and business change projects towards the end of my career, including body-worn video, biometric work and in-car technology, and some on mobile working. And now I work for a company called Ade, and we sell an instrument which delivers rapid DNA in all sorts of environments.
I mean, that's such a long history in such a short amount of time. I mean, being like leader of a biometrics team and inventing quite a lot of things, that you actually do understand the technology behind what's going out there. So why did you choose to go to Ade? How could you see it helping the people on the force?
Well, firstly, I'm not a really great deep technician. I struggle with some technology, but I like to think that if I can get it to work, a lot of my colleagues can, and most of my colleagues in reality can work it better. I was really lucky at the end of my career. I had a number of options, and I saw a demonstration of Ade, and I thought, wow, this is absolutely fantastic. It's a game changer. And it'll allow police, law enforcement generally, and military to really help bring science to the front line, to help vulnerable victims, to bring offenders to justice, and to do the right thing. And you know what? After 30 years in public sector, I wanted to stay within a company or an organization that kind of follows the values that I've signed up to for most of my life. So that was why I went to Ade. Great company, great product.
And obviously, learning what you've known from your vast history, to bringing that to this technology. Before we get into it, because we're going to have like a whole episode on the technology. We'll have one of your forensic scientists, Lewis, and that's going to be coming up at 6:30. But why don't you explain to me, like, what is the basic steps of collecting at a crime scene before Ade, and how long would that take, and what would the process be?
Yeah, first of all, I kind of put a shout out there for Lewis, because he'll do a far better job than I will of explaining the science element. But basically, police and scenes of crime, or crime scene examiners, will attend a crime scene. If it's a really serious crime, they may put up a tent, a forensic tent, and then they're going to get kitted up in what we often see now of PPE and go in and retrieve those forensic samples. But working with rapid DNA is no different. It's about making sure that we retrieve the forensic sample to that kind of level of integrity. But then, of course, it has to be returned to the police station, bagged and tagged effectively, and then it has to be collected or taken from the police station to the nearest lab. And, apart from the major forces, most police forces don't have their own lab. They will take the sample to an approved, Home Office approved laboratory, and there are a number in the country, but that could be a few miles, and collection might be every few days. And so that's the kind of process now. In terms of its integrity, etc., fantastic. We have some fantastic laboratories in this country that do outstanding world-class work.
And this is obviously going to be adding to what the laboratory can do. It's not taking away from them. So that's the process of going through a crime scene. Gosh, I remember having to take so much evidence myself through DP, through to the lab. And then that can take, I know from my own experience, it can take days, weeks. You could even forget about it. You've even sent stuff over to the lab. So what then is Ade's speciality? What does it bring?
Well, the difference really quite simply with Ade and rapid DNA, it's the ability to put a sample, a DNA sample, be it blood, hair, semen, tissue, or saliva into an instrument, and within about, well, under 2 hours, 106 minutes, elicit a kind of an outcome which allows you to interpret that DNA to get a name if they're on the National DNA database or any other database that you kind of signed into. So what it does is it really cuts that time down to get the name to help the investigator take that investigation forward.
And it sounds like, obviously, rapid DNA is something that's coming quite quickly, and technology is moving with the times. Ultimately, it's about trying to get the crime scene, get the evidence, and get it back to the lab, and everything all in one, isn't it? It's all about time and saving time.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And you know what? It's just like modern technology. It moves on at a pace. And I look back now and I realize for the first few years of my policing career, we concentrated on fingerprints because we didn't use DNA, and we certainly didn't use it regularly. Now it's an everyday feature. But let's not forget, when colleagues, officers, crime scene examiners attend a crime scene, they're looking for multiple opportunities now. And most crime scenes elicit several samples if they're there to be found of different types. And again, with rapid DNA, with the Ade instrument, you can actually process up to 5 at once if it's all blood, or 4 if it's a mixed kind of bag of samples. So things are moving on at pace, and this is just, for me, is just the next development for forensic science.
Well, that's given us a 5-minute update, because, as you say, your colleague Lewis has done a 15-minute interview with me, which will be on later this afternoon. Obviously, is there anything else that you feel that you wanted to say about the product, or about how you feel as going from a police into the private sector?
Yeah, well, it's been a smooth transition. I think so anyway, but you'd have to ask my bosses at the year end, really. But if out there you want to have a conversation with myself or any of my colleagues, and we have colleagues worldwide, about rapid DNA, how we can help, disaster victim identification, crime scenes, human trafficking, there's lots and lots of opportunities when you can recover DNA very quickly and process it to get an outcome, not just crime scenes. We're happy to have a chat with you because we're always happy to educate. And hopefully, you'll place an order with us. If you don't, you'll learn something about rapid DNA.
Anyway, it's always good to learn new things. And obviously, for everybody else out there, you can subscribe to Bedroom Forensics, where we'll try and give you all the latest. And don't forget to catch up at 6:30. And if you're watching this on a replay, then just subscribe, because, I'm here. So please do. And thank you so much, Ade, for joining me today. I really enjoyed that.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.